Welcome to Holistic Health Heroes, here to help you become your own health advocate and introduce you to some heroes in the holistic health arena. Let's get started. Hi, Denise.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Absolutely.
And I just want to tell our audience a little bit about you to start out with. And so this is Denise Skinner, everybody. She's owner of Vibrant Mobile Health, where she's a holistic technician specializing in whole body detox. Alongside her career in real estate, she has more than 30 years personally applying alternative health, nutrition, and natural therapies to support whole body healing. So I'm sure we're going to learn all about that today. So welcome to the Holistic Health Heroes podcast.
Oh, well, awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're
I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited too. I should say that, you know, how did I find Denise? There's a couple layers to this story. One is when I was in Naples, and we're always looking for things with my mom and her situation to find, you know, healing modalities, and we found out about this thing called the HOCATT. Okay, so that's phase one. That happened months ago. And then I'm at my lovely dentist's office, which all the listeners know because I had Dr. Light on the show, and our wonderful dental hygienist there, Daniela, said, "Hey, I know someone who has the HOCATT," and it was lovely Denise.
Yes.
So I've been
Dr. Light is also my dentist.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so I didn't even know that. That's great. So you know how great they are over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I always like to start out with a story. There's always a backstory that's very interesting with people on where they, you know, how they get where they are now. So could you share a little bit about how you became owner of Vibrant Mobile Health and maybe what that is?
Well, it all started when my husband got diagnosed with prostate cancer a little over a year ago. And we decided to take everything naturally. He also had Addison's disease. The radiation oncologist basically said that the radiation would kind of probably take him out more with the Addison's than the cancer itself. So we researched everything to go alternative. So we found some alternative options, and that is kind of how we ended up on this path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we ozone him, and his tumor markers came down 50 points in 4 months.
Which is like unheard of, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning this along with your story.
We utilize the sessions that have like 9 modalities all happening at one time, synergistically, and it just it's a pretty powerful unit to help detox the body.
Wow. Yes. And of course, I'm attracted to that idea of the whole body detox, you know, for myself too, and all that, you know, going through with aging and so forth, about knowing how it's important to get to the cellular level.
Yes.
To detox the cellular level. How do you do that in your daily life? You kind of need some help. So that's what we're here to talk about, the HOCATT today. It's fascinating to me to know your husband's journey and story and all the, you know, the markers that you say that he's improved upon. Now, sorry if you just said this, but didn't you tell me before that usually those markers take a lot longer?
Yes. The physicians have told us that they normally take up to about a year, and so most of them dropped within 4 months.
That's amazing. To just
inflammation decreased. I mean, the weight loss was incredible pretty quickly, which we didn't realize was actually inflammation.
Right.
We thought it was from medications for, you know, Addison's that he was
Right.
on, but it was actually inflammation that just started dropping off of him.
That's
really quickly.
Wow. So here you have this person who's diagnosed with a pretty serious condition, and you say, I'm going to take a different route because, you know, you're looking out for him with his, again, nutrition, I always say, is bio-individual, your health, it's your own individual journey, and he's looking at the holistic picture here going, well, I already have a problem with my adrenals, and I can see the path here, so I'm going to take this other route because I feel that's going to serve me better.
That's exactly what he decided to do. I told him I would support him in whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So this is the route we went.
I'm just curious because I've had people, you know, obviously we all have conversations with people. The more years that are added to our age, the more people we learn of, unfortunately, that are getting a diagnosis like cancer. And I've had conversations in my life in the past where maybe someone's had a relative and they went the traditional route, or they didn't. Let's say they went the alternative route, whatever that means for them at that time.
Right.
And then it didn't go so well for them. And then their relatives are blaming them. Why didn't they do what they were supposed to do? But I always say, like, it's their prerogative. Like, you have a choice in your own body in what you want to do.
Right.
And how you want to play the deck that you're dealt. Right. Did you guys get any pushback from people around you of like, why?
Oh, yeah, we have family and stuff like that. But, you know, he didn't really care.
Yeah.
He just decided that this is the route he wanted to go. Felt like it was the better one to do. And that's the journey we're on.
Yeah. Well, good for you guys. I can say that. Okay. Like
we're seeing a lot of success with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So thank the Lord. Thank goodness. Yeah. So what challenges, I know, we talked before, obviously, because I've been doing the HOCATT. FYI, everybody, if you're following my social media, you already know that. Maybe you saw me in the HOCATT. But I have decided that I want to do that whole body detox as well. What challenges are you seeing from other people, like, that seek you out? So, we all have problems. We all have things we're dealing with, health-wise or otherwise. And I'm just wondering, the people who end up finding you, that seek you out, what are you seeing their issues are?
I've had multiple cancer.
Wow.
People dealing with breast, bone, even very rare types of cancers that are seeing significant differences. Low blood platelet levels that are increasing afterwards. I had a gentleman that definitely came in prior saying that he was going to need a blood transfusion, and 2 times now he hasn't had to get it and receive any of it because his platelet counts keep going up. So,
wow.
I've had, I'm wheelchair accessible. So even if you're in a wheelchair, I've dealt with some people that haven't had the use of a limbs because they're either neuropathy or things like that. I have just general maintenance, that just want to keep themselves healthy, from our air, our water, our food. We're always getting bombarded with something in our atmosphere, so
Absolutely.
They're just maintaining, hormonally. I mean, I've had a few breast cancer patients. We can cup the breasts. We can do vaginal insufflations,
Yeah.
I've had women come in with pap smears that were not, normal, and we just go at it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting piece that you told me about is the breast cupping, which basically is just taking the ozone, one of the technologies, or you call it technologies? Yeah.
It's like one of the modalities.
One of the modalities where you are able to direct the transdermal ozone in a certain place, whether it's your breast tissue or your liver. Then what you're talking about with the pap smear, I know I've learned from talking with you that there's a wand that you actually can insert.
Catheter. Yeah.
Oh, ew, a catheter. She's bringing out the medical terms for me. So, that's fascinating that someone could come in with an abnormal pap smear and then use this technology modality
before the next test. Yeah.
And then have a different result. Wow.
I've had somebody come in with some pretty severe arthritis in the knees, and we've cupped the knees and directed more towards the knees as he was receiving the whole body.
Yeah. Wow. I think I want to do that on my liver next time. Note to self. And then you've also had, your own health challenges, whether that was you or with your kids. I know you're a wife, you're a mother, you're even a grandmother, which I can hardly believe because you're way too young for all that. But yes, and you have a great, big family that you've helped with different things for many years. So what, maybe about your own health challenges, would you like to share, or something that you've helped people with, what they're struggling with health-wise?
Sure. Yeah, after we had our lovely pandemic, I went through that scenario and kind of dealt with some of those long symptoms and had a huge buildup of lactic acid in my body. And I ended up, doing a few sessions on myself, and I went probably 3 years not really knowing why I had this, like my muscles weren't working. They just weren't working. I couldn't work out. I couldn't just walk without my muscles wanting to cramp and just feeling extremely sore all the time and stiff, you know. And I jumped in myself and did sessions on myself, and it finally absolutely relieved it after like 3 years.
Interesting.
of suffering with it.
Wow.
So there are ways through frequency specific currents to help dissolve any anything that's pretty much going on, any viruses, bacterias, you know, the infrared, the far infrared really helps alleviate the lactic acid, helps the muscles really release. So
the lactic acid buildup, like when I hear lactic acid, I think about athletes.
Correct.
So if you're a runner, you might get a lactic acid buildup. I'm not a runner.
Anybody that's into any heavy duty sports or weightlifting, anything like that.
Okay, and that would help to move things out?
Correct.
Yeah.
It'll help your body detox and move it out. It definitely enhances your sports you know, your
performance,
athletic ability, your energy, you know, and all of that.
Yeah.
And it helps the muscles recover faster.
Interesting. Yeah. And so, and also like people are talking about this thing called long COVID.
Oh yeah.
And so that thing is like, what kind of symptoms? I don't have it top of mind, but like when people have long COVID, do you know, like what are the symptoms they're experiencing?
There's a lot of brain fog. It's like lingering around. Stiffness in the body, a lot of stiffness in the body, just not feeling well, low energy levels. And it just seems to kind of linger. It's like you kind of feel better, but you don't feel like to the top.
Yourself,
you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not really back to
you're
normal.
Just not 100%.
Yeah.
So, you know, all of it can help all of that.
Because it's the whole detoxification and all that. And well, since it kind of we're leading into these different modalities, we're sort of mentioning the infrared, the ozone, the this and that. Maybe we should go through all those and what they are.
Sure.
What their benefits are. So let's start with transdermal ozone. So to me, transdermal, okay, that's skin, right? Beneath the skin or something like that.
Right.
What are some of the benefits of transdermal ozone?
Well, that is amazing. It's amazing because it kills your viruses, your bacteria, your molds. If you've been exposed to molds or living in it, any of the myotoxins, your bacterias, your funguses, your parasites, you know, all of that is coming through when you're in the session. It is coming transdermally through your skin, goes straight into all of your organs and your vessels. So you're basically kind of getting a nice cleanse, and then it's helping to utilize that to come out.
Yeah,
and your body to pass it.
You know, and then like you mentioned parasites, which made me think about like all these online videos I'm now seeing of what happens when people are getting parasites out through their, you know, they're eliminating them, their elimination pathways. But this would be a little different if you're killing off parasites. It's not like you're going to see them in your stool, right?
No.
Yeah, no, it's different.
I mean, I would guess it could be a possibility, but probably not.
It's not the same type of things, which means it's gentler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which is great. Okay, so transdermal ozone, I love that. And also, like, I remember we were getting together last week and someone had stopped us and she was very curious about this. We were talking a little bit to her about it. And she was really wondering about the ozone because it's kind of known out there that you don't want to breathe ozone.
Correct.
But with the HOCATT, you take precautions so that we're not breathing it. And one of them is to have oxygen.
Yes, you have oxygen. You're fully caped, and you know we have the towels around your neck. We have full ventilation, so you cannot directly breathe that in.
Right.
That would be harmful to your lungs.
Right.
So, and especially a concentrated long time frame of breathing that in. We have ozone in our air. When it rains, that fresh smell is natural ozone that we do breathe. So we can breathe some, but not the concentrated amounts of it. So we take all the precautions so that you're not getting it. But one of the modalities is you are breathing in pure oxygen while you're in the pod.
Which also has a lot of great benefits to breathe in that,
Yes.
beautiful oxygen that's going right into your, airways pretty much. I mean, you're not connected, but, as my experience, it's a little tube that comes up near where you breathe and you're just breathing it in.
I mean, you could put it on like a headset, but, people don't really want anything on their head, so I just set it there for you
that works.
to get it.
Yeah.
As long as you're feeling it and breathing it.
That works for me. Now, what about carbonic acid? Because when I saw that on the sheet too, I was like, carbonic acid, what is that?
All right, so that's CO2, and that comes into the chamber first, and that will increase your blood flow, increase your circulation, dilate your vessels, and just get all of that open, ready for the delivery of the next part of the modality, which is the ozone that comes in.
Oh, interesting. That kind of makes me think about how I've said to you before when I'm in there, there's waves. I'm feeling different waves of things. Like it's like a steam in there, but it's not so hot. And then suddenly you get a hot wave. So this is the different technologies at work, I would imagine.
It is. And it's all working synergistically together. So it works so great to have it all happening at one time, because your body takes it, and then it just seems to, and it's delivered in 30 minutes, which is the awesome thing about it. So you don't really have to take a lot of time to actually get a full benefit.
Yeah. It's a short little session there. Yeah, and you get a lot.
And then with the carbonic acid, it also helps your nervous system calm down. It helps alleviate some stress. It helps the muscles relax. Yeah. And then you couple that with the far infrared. And if you think about how they all just kind of work together, because our body is complex, right? It's like everything is connected. Mm-hmm. We're all connected. So it's not just one thing. And then you don't have to go get one thing done and one thing done and one thing done here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. You can have it all done in 30 minutes.
That's great. I love that. So that you mentioned far infrared, and I know I've looked this up before. In fact, I've even done an episode on like blue light and infrared, but it doesn't stay top of mind, which is why the podcast is so great. I even go back and listen to my own episodes. What did I say about that thing again? What was my research? So remind me again, what does far infrared do for us?
Well, that increases your blood circulation. So that's going to actually help bring healing to areas that are damaged. Okay. Right? It neutralizes a lot of toxicity in your blood. So maybe if you're too acidic, or things like that, you have inflammation, that's going to definitely help. It lowers blood pressure. It actually lowers blood pressure, the hypertension, and all that. So, I mean, there's multiple things.
Like you were mentioning to me on the way here, I think about the knees. Someone had knee problems, so this would be great for them.
For the arthritis.
Yeah, for arthritis.
All of that heat helps. It helps with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia.
Which is so common now.
Yes. A lot of autoimmunity.
Yes. Okay. A lot of challenges. Now, microcurrents. So frequency via microcurrents. So just so everyone knows, that I'm holding these little rods in my hand, and I learned last week when we did it that you should put your feet on the plates. Missed that memo for a second. I did it right the first time, and then I forgot.
Even if you didn't, you still have it.
You're still getting it. You're still getting it. But this creates, now explain that to me because you said it so eloquently, when you're holding the rods and you're putting your feet on the plates, what's happening?
So, we kind of dial that into maybe what challenges you're having.
Right.
So we figure out a frequency to whatever challenge you're having. So let's just say we'll just use...
like mold, I said.
Mold.
Yeah, like cheese.
Okay,
or whatever.
So mold, so fungus.
Yeah.
Anything to do with funguses, I have a few different frequencies that you can run so that helps your body kind of cancel it, because everything has a frequency. Good or bad, right or wrong, it's got a frequency.
Right.
So we want to try to cancel that in the system so that it's not affecting your system, so that you can kind of work at optimum levels. Mm-hmm. Your cells can work at optimum levels and everything else. So we run a frequency with that, and you have your feet on the plates if your feet can reach. So even if your feet doesn't reach and you only can hold the rods, you're still getting it. But when you do have it on all, then...
Is that my phone?
I think.
I'm sorry, guys. That's interesting. I always turn my phone off. Oh, no, it's not. It's not. Okay. No worries.
Sorry.
That's all right. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, it is. Oh,
You're a busy lady. I get it.
It is. It's yeah. Anyway, what happens is it creates a circuit, and you might not feel it. So what I normally do is tell somebody to open up, leave the rods in the hands, open it up, see if you feel it coming through your legs. If you don't, then, you close your hands, and I tell you to lift the leg. And normally then you're breaking that circuit.
Okay.
Okay, so then you really feel it. But when you go ahead and put your foot back down and you keep everything closed up, you don't necessarily always feel the frequencies. Plus, the frequencies are all different. So some are lighter, some are stronger, some pulse, some don't. They're all different depending on what you're specifically working on.
Interesting. Yeah, like I know I've learned along the way, I believe it's Chinese medicine perhaps, that said every organ has a frequency. You can target different places in the body, or like, if someone wants to know, well, what does that feel like? I know from experience that holding the rods, and you can sort of elevate or adjust, I think, whether it's too strong or too light or whatever. And we kind of worked on that last week a little bit, because for me, I want to feel a little bit, but I, don't want to be so uncomfortable.
You don't want to be shocked.
Yeah.
Yes. You don't want to feel pain. You don't want to feel shock.
Right.
You'll feel a little bit of a zinger when it kicks in.
Right.
But you don't want it painful, and you don't want to be, your muscles constricted so much that you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it full force. No. I want it gentle.
Right. Because you want to help the healing process. You're not trying to introduce a new trauma.
No, we're not trying to increase stress. We're trying to alleviate all the stress on the body, so that the body can heal.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to do that. So we work on it together, and we figure out what's the best, level it's at.
Right. And then you have to do that anytime you change it. So if you change halfway through, then you need to change it because the frequency is different.
Right. So there's these different programs of things. Like last week, we did a couple different things. So throughout the 30 minutes, you're changing the program, and we're talking back and forth. Adjusting. Okay, great. How do you think, we've kind of covered it in the sense of this is all multiple technologies, modalities that are put together. But, when I posted about it, I had some folks saying, oh, is it a sauna? And I said, well, it's much more than that. And they're like, well, what do you mean? So when people ask you, well, how is this different than a lot of other health trends out there? Like, how do you answer them?
Well, I've had a lot of people go, oh, it's like a hyperbaric chamber. I'm like, no, your whole body's not in it, and hyperbaric's all oxygen.
Right.
There are other saunas, the infrared saunas, the dry heat, there are others. So what makes it so different is that you can utilize all 9 different modalities if you need them all at one time, where the others you would have to go to each individual place or each individual session for each of them separately. So that's what makes it totally different. And then your body's receiving it all at one time,
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait in between or anything like that. So
right.
It just gives like a whole health and a cellular detox.
That was the key words for me, is getting to that cellular level. Yeah, that's so important, I think, for all of us to learn about.
And increasing that ATP in your mitochondria, which, after that lovely incident we had with these pandemic, which, a lot of that has happened to people.
Right.
Their mitochondria is just not working. Their cells are not able to get back to normal. So it's a way to help all
bring
that.
back proper function.
Yes.
Yeah, because once you've been derailed, you need to get back on track.
Yeah.
This is a way to do it. So we kind of mentioned it before, but when it comes to women's health, how might the HOCATT help women?
Well, the hormones, it definitely helps balance out hormones. And, just kind of bring that balance back in. If you're dealing with anything, like any kind of anything, yeast infections, anything like that, we can deal with that.
UTIs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we talked about people who they want to focus on the breast tissue, maybe preventatively, or if they're in some other situation.
The great part about it is you can, depending on what the levels and the settings are, anywhere from 400 to 600 calories are burned, and you can do weight loss. There's actually exercises. I don't think we discussed this.
Oh, let's do that today.
There's actually some exercises and frequencies that you can use for weight loss, but anytime you're just sitting in there, you're burning anywhere from 400 to 600 calories. It also helps with anti-aging, wrinkling, cellulite, and all of that for us. So.
A lot of different things for women, especially in particular, because, we're women. So I'm curious about that. So, along those lines, when we talk about balancing the hormones, that's a phrase I think that gets thrown around a lot.
Yes.
For me, is what it means for me is that you get to this age and your body just starts to, your cup sort of fills up, right? It's like that analogy of the various toxins that are filling up your cup, whether that's stress or chemicals or whatever.
Or all of it.
Or all of it together. And then it runneth over. Your cup runneth over, and not in a good way. So now your toxins are interfering with your body function. Yes. And what you really need first, before you add anything else, this is my philosophy, is to detoxify the body, try to bring it back to its, where it's supposed to be functioning, get rid of all the junk and the gunk, and that will help balance your hormones. Is that kind of your philosophy?
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing that.
Yeah, okay. Tell me more. I would love to hear what you've seen with other people so far, what you've had yourself go on, like as far as balancing the hormones.
Just the menopausal symptoms it will help alleviate them. For sure.
Like all the horrific night sweats or hot flashes or maybe mood swings, or you've seen.
Yes, we can deal with all of that. There's
interesting.
Up and down. Yes, it definitely helps with that. That's what I'm dealing with too. So.
Yeah. So it helps, and then so just to share with transparency, like what I'm doing is I at first when I met Denise, I thought, well, I just want to try this and see what it's like. So I just said, I'll just do a one-off. Let me just see. And then it became clear, like, oh, wait, I want to do that some more. So I decided to buy 10 sessions.
Right.
So I'm just beginning that. And I'm sure I'll have an update for you after 10 sessions.
Well, you can tell them the experience you had the first time.
Yeah, well, the first time, okay, so that's a great point. So the first time when I did it, I definitely experienced, like that day, I wanted to do some resting. I wanted to take it easy. It wasn't like I was charging around. I made sure that I could kind of be easy that day afterwards.
And definitely hydrate.
And hydrate before and after, because you are, in this sauna experience. But then I noticed that, let's just say, my elimination pathways opened, and more bowel movements, and for days, like pretty much that whole
at least a
week.
Couple days.
Yeah, like it was a Monday, and Monday through Thursday, I was noticing, hey, what's going on here? This is a good thing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have multiple bowel movements every day, which who does? Most people are constipated. Let's face it.
Right.
So
they're lucky they're going at least once.
Yeah, and they're lucky they're going at once. And that's a real recipe for disaster. I've said that before, but I will say it again, that if you're having that problem, then you really need to figure out what's going on, because that will lead to dis-ease.
Correct.
So I've experienced that so far. I will say, and I haven't even shared this with you, the second time I did it, which I guess was last week, I felt so tired the next few days. I was exhausted. 4 p.m. would come, like if I did it on a Monday, let's say Tuesday and Wednesday, both, 4 p.m. would come, I was done. And I figured that's probably, and you tell me if this is in line with what you think, that's probably my body just saying you need healing time, you need resting time. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
It could, and maybe we need to take a look at stimulating your adrenals a little, because that's normally the time of the day that you feel sluggish. That 3 to 4, time for that. So we just have to.
Yeah, dial it in.
Yep.
Yeah, dial in the things, because we worked on different programs for different times, so it makes sense that
and
different things.
And it depends on what we ran on you.
The first.
We need to look at that and see.
Okay.
Before the next time.
Yeah.
And just see, because then you'll know maybe what's affecting you.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, also, like, I always think about that phrase, a snapshot in time. Like, when you go get blood work, it's just a snapshot in time. Yes. So it's like, 1 week I did it. It was this was going on in my body. The next week worked on something else. This was going on in my body. So, you know, things are changing.
It's kind of like peeling the onion. So we're kind of peeling your onion slow. And there's no rush in that. There's no rush in detox. You know, you want to make sure the pathways are open. You don't want to have any, you know, side effects of doing it. So, you know, you have to hydrate before you come, half your body weight in water before you come. And then you're going to get 16 ounces afterwards with electrolytes to replace anything you've sweat out. And then, you know, 1,000 milligrams of liposomal vitamin C for at least the next 3 days.
Yes. Okay, good.
And I do check on everyone to find out, did I not text you and say, how you feeling?
Follow up.
Tell
yes.
me how you doing.
Yes. Good point. Yeah. So interesting.
And in order not to have detox symptoms, you got to flush. You have to flush because this is going to release it, but you need to continue flushing your system so that you can eliminate.
I better chug a glass of water before we start today because I haven't been very good with that today. But so it is important to flush it out. And I can say for sure I didn't do as well last week with that. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Well, and it depends on what
we did, the programs.
I don't remember.
Yeah, they were different things, so we'll have to look at that. So let's see, what else am I going to ask you, Denise? For the athletes out there listening, we touched on that, but I do know that someone who was curious about this when I was posting was an athlete. So what can we say about athletic performance specifically with the HOCATT?
Oh, it'll definitely increase that performance. It'll definitely help regenerate tissues or any damaged tissues. You know, it'll enhance elimination for them also, and just allow them to feel at tip top. You know, because you know when you're on the top of your game with that. I mean, I used to be a competitive runner, long distance runner, and I know when you feel good and when you feel great.
There's a difference.
There is a big difference, and especially when you're competing or you're in any kind of football or anything like that, you know, professionally, or hockey players or anything, any professional sports, you know, you got to be at the top of your game for that. So,
for sure.
Yeah, it absolutely helps with the energy levels.
It makes sense if you're getting the oxygen and the ozone specifically pop out, but then again, the infrared we talked about.
Yeah,
and
well, it's like it helps speed up the post, exercise.
Yes, that feeling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Makes sense.
It just it reduces all that stress on the body, even emotionally.
Yeah.
It just gives you that minute to, it brings you from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic.
Which is why so much healing is able to happen because
sometimes we're just so charged.
Yes.
With the way that we go nowadays, and we're just always on the go, and you don't even realize it until you actually can, feel it.
Yeah.
The difference. Yeah. You don't even realize you're going that hard.
I agree. It makes me think of that time when I was getting acupuncture, and if someone would have asked me, well, or said like you're really stressed and you're maybe in sympathetic dominance, and I'd be like, what are you talking about? I don't have like this rigorous schedule right now. But once I did the acupuncture, it was like, boom, it just shifted me into that parasympathetic. And like you said, I didn't know until I felt it.
Right.
Until I felt the difference.
You don't realize how the first time I got into it, I didn't realize how stressed and how actually bad I felt until I got out of it. I felt so good after I got out of my first session that I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I felt so bad.
Right.
You condition yourself to it. You just don't realize it.
Yeah, you take it for granted what's normal, so to speak.
It's like being deficient in, B12 or something.
Right.
Or
magnesium.
Yes. And you just kind of deal with it. You just put up with it. And then all of a sudden, when you actually replace that, you're like, whoa.
You're like, wait, that's how it's supposed to be?
I'm supposed to feel this way?
Yeah.
Not this way?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so detoxification is such a big topic. I find myself talking about it a lot. I read that when I was looking at the materials that you had shared with me, that the HOCATT is 7 times more effective at detoxifying the body and binding heavy metals. Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
So it's able to bind the heavy metals so that you can release them. So that's another reason that it's different.
Yeah, because lots of people go about detoxifying and they don't do the binding.
Right.
So this helps
so you
with
can
that.
dump it, but then even sometimes when people have never, I mean, I've had people get in that have never in their life done a detox. So you have to take them very, very slow. But I normally tell them to go ahead and get a binder, like a charcoal binder. I can suggest a few binders, and then let that help them, because, if they've never, ever done it, you just have to gently, slowly detox them.
Right. And
you don't want that dumping out. You don't want to have a Hertz reaction. You don't want to go through, where your body,
you feel
can't
worse.
eliminate through your lymph nodes and your liver. And, you don't want to feel worse. You don't want to have flu-like symptoms. You don't want to get itchy. You don't want to have a rash. So there's ways of avoiding that. And like I said, you don't have to do it fast. A lot of people are like, I just want to detox and I just want to, But really with this, you want to do it slow, and as your body can handle, you can increase.
Yeah. That's so
you really
important.
have to listen to your body.
Yes.
Each individual person has to listen to what their body is kind of telling them.
Right. And continue on that vigilance, like to be aware of what's going on. That's a good point you mentioned about on the way here, because we had the good fortune of commuting to this today together. So we had a little chance to talk. And one of the things you shared with me is your own experience with juicing. I wanted to talk about that. I have to share this with everybody, Denise, because so many people are on this trend of let me do a so-and-so day detox with juicing or whatever it is. And while there are some that provide benefits, could you just share your story of what happened with you when it comes to juicing?
Which I believe is very good within balance.
Yes.
So I decided to do a 21-day juicing.
And when was this?
Oh, it was years ago now.
Yeah.
It was years ago now. It's been since probably 2018, 2017 or 18 when I did it. But I did a 21. I was like gung-ho. I'm like, I'm going to do this green juicing, 21 days. And I did. All I juiced was that's all I took in for 3 meals was juicing.
For 21 days.
For 21 days. So as I did that, I basically ended up depleting myself of minerals and vitamins on top of tearing my gut up.
Ouch,
So it took me about 6 months to recover from it and gently restore my gut and my stomach and replenish my system of everything that got depleted from just eliminating, because it does detox you.
True.
It does help with everything. I think 21 days for me was too much.
Right. Maybe a 3-day or a 5-day. Yeah. Well, and that's what I said on the way here is that, we live and learn. Like we're all living and learning. We're all going at this together. But I just, there's so much confusion around nutrition, and there's so many different philosophies, and people tend to be very attached to their belief with what's right and what's wrong. And it's, again, it's just the person. It depends on the person. There might be someone that listens to this and say, well, I did that and it was just fine for me.
Right.
Well, that's great. But the people who are maybe considering it should really know that there are other outcomes that potentially could happen if you go at it in a serious way like you did.
Well, yeah. And this is why I always stress this, to listen to what your body's telling you, because all of us are different.
Yeah.
And what one can handle, another might not. Like I probably would have been fine if I stopped it halfway through.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I was like, no, I really got to do this because it's just my personality.
Sure. Type A,
so
let's go.
now I learned that I don't need to.
Yeah.
I need to really listen to my body.
Right. Sure. Yeah. That's how we learn. Yeah.
And I said, I'll never put myself in that situation again.
Yeah. And you also had, shared different stories, but with gut health, because gut health too is such a huge thing where you had to rebuild your gut. It took you 6 months. Okay, 21 days to shake things up and put it in a downward spiral, which by the way, you had blood markers, right? That were indicators that this is going the wrong direction.
Oh yeah. I had to do blood work because I felt so bad. I mean, like just the energy was gone. My energy was gone.
Wow.
And I just felt like I was going to drop dead.
Wow.
So I was like, I think I better go get some blood work. So I did. And then that's where all of the, minerals and the vitamins and, it just went wacko. My blood work went wacko. So.
What did you do at that point to rebuild your gut?
I actually had a protocol of like a very bland porridge that I made out of a crock pot.
What kind of porridge was it?
And it was with like mullet
grain
and amaranth and just a few of them mixed together in a crock pot situation with a lot of bone broth, like organic bone broth. I was making my own bone broth to put in it. So it was like that's what I started eating, just little bits at a time.
Yeah, because if you would have had a steak, you would have had probably diarrhea or something, right?
Steak would have been like brick in my stomach.
Yeah.
It would have killed me.
At that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and even when I did start eating like more solid, foods and proteins like that, I did feel like I had a brick in my stomach.
Yeah.
So I just gradually, and then that's when I knew to back off.
Again.
Backtrack a little bit.
Listen to the body.
Keep going.
Yep.
Yeah, let's just keep going slow, little by little.
Yeah.
Because, we all want to feel good fast.
Right.
But
it takes time.
it's not necessary to constantly go fast.
Right. Sometimes it's better to go slow.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember a coach I had once that said to me, go slow to go fast, or something like that.
Right.
Like move slow to go fast, or something to that effect.
It's like, can you go backwards to go forward?
Yeah.
That's kind of like what it is.
Yeah.
Could you step back to actually go forward?
Right. Yes. And sometimes you have to do that.
So sometimes you have to step back to launch off.
That's true. That's so true. Well, I know you also, speaking of gut health, we were talking about your daughter's experience. And you helped her along the way. Could you share that story with us? Yeah,
she went through MRSA, and because of the antibiotics given in an IV, it just tore her gut up for like 5 years.
Yeah, so
you've
had some experience with the gut realm.
We've dealt with a lot of gut stuff.
Yeah.
So, in the house.
So she ends up at what age? Like young lady?
She was 17 when that happened.
17. She gets MRSA. It's just some MRSA. Like sort of household accident or something like.
She shaved.
Yeah.
To go to the beach.
Yeah, like something you normally do every day.
She shaved her legs.
You take for granted. You do it all the time. Somehow you end up with this horrible infection.
Yes.
You're given a serious duty antibiotics to get rid of the infection.
Oh, yes.
And then
2 weeks in the hospital.
2 weeks in the hospital. You come out and now you have like basically zero digestion.
Yes. She literally, anything and everything she put in her mouth came out like water.
Wow.
Yes, she couldn't keep anything in. She went down to like 90 pounds. Just little bag of bones.
Yeah.
And basically it took years, to rebuild and all that. Had a lot of prayer.
Yes.
Had some amazing, miraculous touch by God stuff, but we were using a very high potency probiotic, along with, believe it or not, Manuka honey, and a lot of broths, bone broths, and everything to just rebuild. And of course, teenager, college age. By that time, we went 5 years like that. With her gut like that, so you got to figure, they drink these energy drinks and then they tear it up a little more, and so it was like the back and forth thing.
Right. That's got to be a tough age to go through that.
She dealt with a lot, and then she definitely got healed from it, but
again, taking time.
Yes, she was eating matzah crackers, literally.
Wow.
She could keep that in without it being horrible.
Wow.
But there was a lot of matzah crackers going on.
Wow, unbelievable. Yeah, so the gut is everything. I know, too, that, because if you don't have your ability to digest, you can't absorb any nutrients. If you can't absorb any nutrients,
right.
you can't really live a healthful life.
Right.
You're really struggling.
I have a frequency-specific current for malnutrition. So she's been in there. She's been in there, loves it, needs it. Even if, they just recovered from, her and her husband recovered from the flu.
Okay.
And we have frequencies to help knock out the influenzas.
Yeah.
Like
And
that.
I had someone say to me that they had smashed their finger or thumb, and then I've had the elbow thing or whatever. So that kind of thing can also be helped with the HOCATT. Yeah.
I mean, it's nutty, but yes.
There are a number of things. Since we were on the topic of nutrition a little bit, and I was so curious to know about, what diet your husband was directed to be on with this cancer diagnosis. What was the name of the doctor that you mentioned that you enjoyed, or you guys were following somewhat, at least, of the protocol?
Dr. Nasha Winters.
Nasha
She
Winters.
takes a metabolic approach to cancer and has a great dietitian program. And so it's an anti-cancer, very alkaline diet. And you eliminate all sugar.
All sugar. Say
so
goodbye to sugar. Except for
monk fruit and allulose.
aha. So those
Can do that. They want you to stay away from the stevias. But monk fruit and allulose.
interesting.
And you can have, your proteins.
Yes. And like we were talking again.
A lot of vegetables.
This is a lot of vegetables. So we were talking about this on the way here because this is something I want to look into more. And of course, it's not a prescription. It's not a directive for anyone to take and say, oh, this is what I should do. It's not what we're saying. It's just, there's a lot of conflicting information when it comes to what should I eat if I do have a cancer diagnosis. I know there are institutes around the country, like I mentioned, that proclaim that the raw food or vegetarian or juicing or whatever, that's the way to go. But then there's also books out there called like Keto for Cancer. So how could we not be so confused by this? So when I met you, I was really wondering, what are they telling you, your husband, to eat? So could you share a little bit of what does a menu item, daily life look like for him and his eating?
You can have eggs, because there is one out there that says you can't have eggs. But according to them, you can have eggs. We do utilize the eggs. You can have bacon. You can have meat. You can have chicken. You can have turkey. You can have it in proportions, specific proportions.
Right.
And they base it basically upon the weight of the person. And then you just add, there's certain cancer foods and no cancer foods, so you want to follow that. But the recipes are geared to be very low carb because, as we know, your total carbs turn into sugar. Sugar feeds cancer.
Right.
So it is low carbs. He doesn't go over 20 carbs a day.
And when we were in the car, I said, carbs like simple carbohydrates or complex?
Total carbs.
So total carbs.
Total carbs, not over 20. Very high good fats. Okay.
Coconut oil, olive oil.
Yeah, your
animal fat.
Yes. You can even, put a tallow in there and all that kind of stuff. But you really want to, like the first 14 days, you're flipping your body from carb for energy to good fat for energy.
Sugar burner to ketone burner.
Go through that lovely. Yes. Ketones. Yes. You got to go through that withdrawal from sugar.
Interesting.
Yes. And so your first 14 days is very difficult.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
It seems like the men have a harder time because I did it with him.
Okay.
So when he did it, I did it. We both did it. We both eat the same now I'm eating the same stuff he's eating. And we both lost, which we thought, like I told you, we thought that his weight gain was from the medication for the Addisons. And in reality, it was all inflammation. His head, over the years, his face blew up, his hands and arms blew up, his belly blew up, all these things blew up. Once we got on that diet, within 3 weeks, he went from like 205 pounds to 173 pounds.
Wow.
And he's maintained that. So, the diet is huge. A lot of us are walking around not realizing how much inflammation we have in our body, which is actually creating weight that you can eliminate. So that's where the diet and the therapies and the sessions that we're doing are all working together.
And that is that synergy that we need in order to really heal. Fascinating stuff. Well, where can people find you if they'd like to connect and learn more about the HOCATT or maybe get some sessions themselves?
They can call me at 561-589-5375. Or they can email me at vibrantmhealth @gmail.com.
Excellent. Well, I'll be sure to include that information in the show notes for this podcast. Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with people before we go?
Oh, I am on the Vagaro website if you want to go there.
How do you spell that?
VAR. Wait.
I'll put it in the notes.
Vagaro.
Don't worry, we'll get it.
VAGARO.
Yeah, put you on the spot. Put you on the spot there. But yeah, no, we'll make sure to put all the links.
And we just went mobile, so
yes.
This is kind of like a new venture. We went from being
that's true. Yeah, tell us about that.
To going mobile.
Yeah. So. Tell the audience about that because I forgot about that.
Oh, so we decided to do that because we had so many people driving some long distances, and I was getting referrals from the middle of the state. So we just decided, okay, you know what? Let's just take this mobile, and we're able to help people in wheelchairs and all that. So.
And so you go around the state of Florida.
Pretty much. From Orlando south.
So tell us a couple locations where you are already set up.
So we're West Palm, Boynton, Melbourne area, Orlando, and pretty much back to West Palm. So,
amazing. Yeah, she's doing this loop. Is it on a weekly basis, monthly?
On a weekly basis.
Weekly basis. She is making the tour around. Wow. I think that's so cool. Yeah. And so amazing for the people who, need it so badly and can't locate it. So again, like I said, I'll be sure to include all of Denise's contact information in the show notes. So you're able to reach out to her directly. I just want to say thank you so much for being here for this amazing conversation, Denise.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we got to go because I got to go do my HOCATT session, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So remember, stay healthy so you can stay happy. And I'll see you on the next one. Psst, can you do me a favor? Text the link to this episode to a friend who you know needs to hear this. By doing so, you are helping me with my mission to open minds to all the holistic health solutions that are available to us all. We hope you'll support our small business and shop ngvitamins.com for all your supplement needs. Oh, and don't forget to follow, hit the bell on your platform of choice so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed this show, please consider sharing your review on iTunes. Until next time.